and bright blessings, everybody. I'm Lady Leeanna with another edition of Wicca for today. And today I would like to talk to you about acquiring Wiccan tools with little or no money. Frugal witchery, basically. And it's a very important topic because a lot of us start out with little or nothing on our altar, and a lot of us don't have money to just go out and buy the things we would love to have on our altar, or even the money to buy the stuff to make them with. You know, I know that a lot of you have seen a video I have based around Lady Leeanna's private Wiccan altar, and I've got a lot of really nice stuff on my altar now. But I didn't start out that way. I started out using stuff out of my kitchen. I started out using stuff out of nature, and still like to do that a lot of times, you know. But you know, access to pagan stores, or the prices that pagan stores like to charge, which I highly disagree with for the most part, you know, on the basis that, you know, just because they're a hard to find item place doesn't mean that they should gouge those prices up against their own kind of people, no less. That really pisses me off to a large degree. I mean, I have wholesale accounts in pagan merchandise, and I sell retail goods to people, but I don't mark things up 5-10 times, you know. And I disagree with people doing that. And no one can tell me that they don't see some rather large prices in the pagan stores. You know, I'm sure that there's a few out there that are modest, but they're hard to find. Anyway, you know, a lot of people think that you have to have very lavish items on your altar, but that's just not the case. Witches began picking things up off the ground and using them off the beaches. And, you know, today we've all forgotten that because so much is made for us. We're lazy, let's face it. And I don't mind admitting to that myself. I try not to be, and but heaven help me, you know, society closes in on you. There ain't a lot left in nature, to tell you the truth. I mean, we're living in concrete jungles and crap. And so they're taking away everything in nature. Soon we'll be seeing trees in museum if we ever want to get a look at one. And that's so unfortunate. Which brings me to my first item I wanted to talk about in acquiring something frugally. You know, the Lord and Lady offer you a good stock of wands and staffs all around you right now, until man kills that idea. But right now, the earth, the Lord and the Lady, they offer you a world of staffs and wands out there. Now, if you can prevent from doing so, I would suggest you don't, you know, pull it down off the tree, especially if you can find one laying there that's recently dropped. That would be preferred. Driftwood off the river is always really good, and usually fine sanded already on its own. However, you can even do it better, you know, sanding it down or whatever. But go outside and look for you a branch that could be made into a staff, or a little limb that could be made into a wand. You know, sand it down. If you can't find one, then ask the Lord and Lady if you could take that from them when you find one on a tree that you adore. But take only what you need. And that's a witch's oldest idea and concept to live by, is take only what you need and always give back. And I always subscribe to that, always tell my students that they should live by that rule. Nonetheless, take you a branch and whittle it down with a little knife, you know, and then sand it if you can. And if you can't, you can fine tune that by taking a smaller blade and whittling at, you know, any of the rougher edges that might still exist. You know, this girl that I've seen, one of my subscribers, Keela, she has a good video on, you know, some ideas to frugally choose your tools whenever you don't have much money. And I'd suggest you go over there and look at her video. I'll put the link at the end of my video here, and you can shoot over there and pay homage to her and watch her video on acquiring things, you know, when you don't have much money. And she's a sweet girl, and you should go check that out. Her name's Keela again. Anyway, let's see. But acquiring a wand is as easy as going and finding a branch on a tree. Let's see. Seashells. You can go all along the rivers, you can go all along the beaches, and you can find shells. Shells, they can do many wonderful things for you as far as supplying your altar. For one thing, it represents the womb, the vagina, the feminine aspect, also love and water. And that's what the seashell represents. You can use the seashell as incense burners. You can, regardless of what kind of burner you need, you can use it. For candle holders, for your votives, your small squatty candles, you can use it for anointing oil dishes. You can use it for holy water making dish, or for your holy water to pour into if you only anoint or cleanse a small area in your altar room at the time, and many, many other things. Seashells hold excessive herbs that you want right on your altar without a bunch of little baggies or whatever around, and libation dishes. So, you know, seashells. And a lot of the times they're free. You just walk along the beach, walk along the river, or whatnot, and you'll find them. And if you can't or you don't, then you can find them pretty cheaply in little bags of mixes of shells and starfish at the store. And you shouldn't feel bad about taking these because they're already dead or given up, you know, and you can, through your work, pay homage to them along with the Lord and Lady, you know, for the lives that they lived, you know, and that they existed. Acknowledge that. So, you know, do it that way, you know. But seashells, good for everything, always acquire them. Pebbles and rocks. Now, you don't need crystals and gemstones and all of that. Rocks of all sorts hold minerals and ores and things of this nature all throughout. Conductors, you know. So, rocks that call to you, or that you feel drawn to. Take those rocks. Go looking for them specifically. Usually in gravel driveways or along rivers and streams, stuff like this. Rocks, you can get them anywhere. And whenever you see one that you really like, pick it up. Store it away. You may not need it then, but you'll need it later. And then you can charge it, cleanse it and charge it, you know, from there. And then put it in a little bag or a little sachet that you have created for whatever rocks or stones that you may have. Pieces of glass also have minerals in it as well. I use that a lot within my protections, you know, and it's good for that. And I've got a video on protections on here somewhere. Let's see. So, acquiring stones and rocks, seashells, and let's see. In your kitchen, you have a world of tools that you can use. You have stew pots, which are burn pans. You know, when you catch a piece of paper on fire that might have a prayer on it, let the prayer be carried on air, let it be heard as you drop it into the pan. You know, when you set anything on fire, you want to hold it right close to the mouth of the pan to assure that it will go in. Okay, but you can use a stew pot. I prefer to use a coffee can, a very big one, a big mouth coffee can, as a burn pan, because it won't scorch the bottom of my stew pot. Okay, but now I have a largemouth cauldron which is 1 foot high and 1 foot across in its mouth, and so it's beautiful. But I started out using stew pots and coffee cans, people. Anyway, it worked out just great for me nonetheless. And saucers as candle dishes, okay? A bowl as a libation dish, or, you know, as a chalice for that matter, a cup. So there are some ideas out of your kitchen, and I suggest that you try them. I mean, they're that easy. Let's see. So try looking in your kitchen, you'll find things. Now, visit your locals, okay? If you live in a small town, you've seen a thrift store, you've seen a secondhand store, an SOS, a Goodwill, things of that nature. Let's say garage sales, your mother's closet, just kidding. But you can find things that you would use within thrift stores, SOSs, garage sales, Goodwills, and things like that. You're going to have a hard time finding black gowns and robes, especially pullovers, within Goodwill, SOS, thrift stores, and whatnot. And needless to say, you really don't have to have a black robe. I mean, some people wear baby blue for peace and tranquility, green for growth, maroon for empowerment, and those are pretty usual. Brown for protection, white for purity, and that's the one I suggest for you if you're brand new within Wicca, because you don't need a world of magic seizing up on you at once when you're not expanded yet. And you'll learn more about what that means later on in our shows. But you can only hold so much power at one time until you grow. And then, you know, it's steady going, but still takes time. Anyway, so thrift stores, Goodwills, garage sales, and so forth, you can find a lot of very cheap stuff. Loose as far as your gowns are concerned. You can find tablecloths in these places as well. Tablecloths can likewise be made out of sheets. You know, just throw a sheet across your altar. And, you know, it doesn't matter what color it is, but red is not suggested within robes or altar cloths because they can promote anger energy, hostile energy, things that you don't want. They can draw demons or bad spirits. They're lively and they make you a target. That's mainly what it is. Have you ever heard of people wearing a red shirt out in the garden and coming in stung? Well, it promotes the sight by everything, you know, around you. And generally, your fire critters or fire spirits, your demons and so forth. So beware the red in the circle, okay? And we'll talk more about that on another show likewise. But out of all of these secondhand stores and so forth, you can find tablecloths, sheets to use as tablecloths, gowns and robes, loose pants and shirts that you could likewise wear in the circle if you don't mind, but make sure they have plastic buttons and never metal. Metal being in your circle and without it being in maybe one or two tools to the directions could be very negative in the way that it would take and it would hold all the power that you would send out to the person or the thing that you're actually doing the spell work for. And you don't want the energy to stay there in your circle or in your items. You want it to release out. So you would have it in a few positive things that rest in the directions or a few of your tools. But for the most part, you want it to go out, so you don't want to choose a lot of things with the metal and crystal or rocks in it. So very minor on that stuff. Even in your amulets, you don't want to go into a circle wearing 4 and 5 metal talismans and amulets or stone, because it's going to hold all the energy in. Nobody's going to get it that you're trying to send it to. Let's see. So paying attention to all of that and moving on, you know, you can also, if you are far away from any kind of stores, including Thrifts, Goodwills, and so forth, you can go on Etsy or eBay, and you can usually find a lot of really good stuff, really cheap. People want to always get rid of things that they don't need. And they come to the realization over a short amount of time selling on eBay and Etsy that they're not going to get anywhere unless they mark that shit down. And so you're going to find a lot of really cheap stuff on there. As a matter of fact, I've got a really pretty black gown, very loose. And it's a winter gown because it's made with velour. But it has a black leaf pattern that blends in with a black robe. So unless you really look, you don't see the leaves. But it's the pattern, you know, within the color. So it's a really gorgeous gown. And I only paid like $4 for it. And about $2 or $3 for shipping and handling, and that was a steal. You're not going to do much better than $7 to buy a black a gown of that kind of material and of that caliber. So it was gorgeous. I love it. And, you know, so I do that often. I go online and I do shopping in cheap places. Craigslist is another idea. Go on Craigslist and take a look at things that they're giving away there, because they do. They give away. In eBay and Etsy, they're not going to give things away because they have to pay for their spaces, and eBay and PayPal charges them out the ass. And I should know. I used to go through eBay and PayPal to try to sell my stuff, and it wasn't a good experience whatsoever. But that's all besides the point. Let's talk about herbs and other ingredients for your spellworks. A lot of people feel that you have to go through a store to buy your herbs or whatnot, but there are many ways you can acquire them. Goes without saying, you could use your standard kitchen herbs that you would buy on the spice rack at the store, but we are working on a frugal video. And we all know that spices that you get at the store ain't exactly cheap. Although, you know, in a pinch, you could run to the kitchen cupboard and get a spice out. But let's talk about the things you can do outside. I mean, you can find a list of any 20 to 30 herbs that go all for the same purposes. Each purpose that you can find to do a spell for, you can find a list of 20 to 30 herbs easy, and use those. But a lot of it is common sense, especially when you're paying a visit out to Mother Nature, walking along, you know, your flowers, your wild bushes and weeds. They all have purposes, and you can use those. You've all seen the split weed that has the black seeds all up and down all of the little rounded spikies that go everywhere. It's got like 2-3 spikes, and it's got little black seeds all over it. Those are good for fertility. Apple seeds are good for fertility. You can use things that you buy at the grocery store and save some of the things out of it to put in your spell work. Or you can walk outside and you can ask the Lord and Lady for it and then pluck it from the ground when they grant it to you. Like I said, you should read up on your herbs, you should study them, and most of them you should find that they're in your yard to some degree. Clover. Clover is good for cleansing the blood on a regular health level, but it also helps to promote luck, and it doesn't have to be a 4-leaf clover, although if you find one of those, then luck is with you. So finding clover to draw in luck, using it for luck spells. New beginnings and fresh starts. There again, use jasmine. For cleansing and purification, use colt's foot use stinging nettle, the things that you don't generally like to touch for cleansing and purification. And I'm not talking about your physical body, but I'm talking about to cleanse somebody out of your life that you don't want, and stuff like that. Use common sense, because when you feel it, then that's usually correct, because that's how the old witches did it. As far as health, it's a little more elaborate than that. You really should study on it. Your herbs are very potent. That's where all the medicines come from today. And so anything can be dangerous or hazardous. There are a lot of toxic plants out there. But I'm not here to preach to you about that right now. So basically, growth within yourself. You would find a very fruitful, growing plant and use different parts of it. You would use berries, not orally taken. And don't squish the berries into your fingers, because sometimes the juices are toxic, soaking up into your skin. But you can use the berries for ripeness to stave off, or actually it would be more like to not stave off, that's not the word I'm looking for, but to actually prevent hardships within your menstrual period. You can do things with the berries there, spell work wise, not taking internally again. And let's see, what else? Tobacco is a cleanser. If there's somebody around you that smokes, you can get a little bit of the tobacco and you could use that as a cleanser, a purifier within your altar room if you don't mind the smell. But there's plenty of different plants within the sage family that you can find outside and get a hold of. Again, your stinging nettle, you could burn that in the air, just very, very minor amounts. Okay, it generally doesn't have the same effect on your eyes or your mouth whenever it's in the smoke, because it's burned up. May not be altogether pleasant. But again, there are many different herbs. Let's see. For love, going outside, finding a rose, taking a hematite stone. If you're trying to draw love from a specific person, you can take a hematite stone and you can wrap that stone up after you've anointed it with some patchouli or strength oil. Let's see. But frugally speaking, you may anoint it with some... let's see, take some baby oil if you've got some, or take a little canola oil and add a little bit of your hair to it, and then crunch up some sage grass or something like that. But your flowers, calendula flower, or those black-eyed Susans, those are good, strengthful, powerful herbs that you can use in there. So crunch that up in your oil the next day after you've done this, then strain it off. And then you've got you a power oil. Also a very fruitful one for whatever needs. You could use that for drawing money. But very nice. So there is a cheap way to making oil for yourself if you happen to have baby oil or canola oil, and most people do in one way or another. Any light base oil would work, If you don't, then you could do it likewise in water. It doesn't necessarily have to be an oil, that you anoint with. You can create flower water. Like Florida water, rose water, stuff like that, which is for different purposes, but works just the same. Anyway, so taking a rose and, wrapping the name or a prayer and a name of a person that you want to draw love from up around a hematite stone and placing it in the heart of the rose, closing the petals of the rose up around it, and then tying it with a piece of ribbon or yarn, pink preferably, or white, is a very, very nice love spell for drawing love of somebody that you already know. And if it's somebody you don't know, then you wouldn't put their name, but simply give a prayer with ideas of the qualities that you want in a person, and that's what you would do in that place. Anyway, I feel also basically you could again go into any of the cupboard herbs if you're on the spot, and preferably you would have a charcoal disc. But if you don't, you can take the smallest piece of paper you can get that would actually go around the amount of herbs you would have, and you would wrap it up in them, and you would set it off and drop it into your burn can or in your incense holder. And the reason why I say the smallest bit of paper that you can fit it into without overdoing it on the paper is because you don't want all the smoke from the paper in your eyes. I prefer, in this case, to use a charcoal disc, but in all essence, I just take a couple of pinches of the herb itself with no paper, no charcoal disc, and I set it in the center of my burner, and I light it up, and it stays lit if I do it all over it with the fire. Then it'll burn just long enough for me to cleanse and purify my circle and then go out. And that way you're not breathing all that crap in for a long period of time, and you don't want to. And you only need to do a little bit for it to work. So there's an idea for you. Tips. Don't eat yellow snow. Just kidding. By the way, I mentioned this girl that's really sweet and has a channel that she's trying to start up on Witchcraft and Wicca also. And I told you that I would leave a link at the end of the video. Here it is, so that you can go and watch her video on basically finding things very cheaply that you can use on your altar and make part of your tools, or representations of your god and goddess even are shown on her video. Anyway, go over there, pay homage to her, and you know, get a good look at other ideas. Anyway, this has been it for Wicca for today with Lady Leeanna, and I thank you for being here. Rate, comment, and subscribe below. I would sure appreciate it, and it will help to keep the channel going. And please, by all means, leave suggestions on things that you would like to see me cover on video, and I'll do my best to get to that as soon as possible. And if you have any ideas or suggestions for other viewers, leave it below in the descriptions, and the discussions, I mean. Leave it below in the discussion so that that they can get ideas from you. So we'd all appreciate that. Take care of yourself, and bye-bye. Merry Pagan.